Shall we play a game?
We got Star Wars Unlimited. We got classic Star Wars games. We got old school D&D, independent RPGs, mini painting, Warhammer, of course, tons of other games. But first, we're gonna need some coffee here on Board Barista Productions. Hey everybody, and welcome to Retro Reviews, a review show where we'll go through my copious amounts of role-playing, tabletop game, books, and paraphernalia one at a time. And to keep me from rambling, we used to have Laura, but now to join me in the Ramble Fest, we have Tanya.
Hey.
If you're looking for shorter, more concise discussions of RPG and gaming books, check out the earlier stuff, especially like the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and 3rd edition books. Yeah, these ones were unfiltered. That said, tonight we are doing the Star Wars Gamemaster Handbook 2nd edition. I got this copy from Noble Knight Games. They are the unofficial sponsor of this section of the reviews because I bought this from them. It came in pretty good condition, and you know, they had a sweet. They've always got some deals going on, so I think I got like 10% off on these. So you're looking to get your hands on the physical copies of the Star Wars RPG books by West End Games. They're my go-to place to order stuff. Don't worry, I haven't bought everything they got in stock yet. Just a good selection. Not even a good selection. Like I own a good chunk of the game before I started picking up some stuff, but I just picked up a few things I never had before. The Tramp Raiders book, the Bounty Hunters book. And then I'm like, well, I still got some extra store credit. I might as well, because I traded off a bunch of stuff to them. And yeah, it was like, okay, I still got store credit. Let's get some cool other stuff. And I'm happy with this. The Gamemaster Handbook is, so you don't need this to run the games, but if you're going to be the game master, the game mastering section in the core rulebook has everything you need to start DMing, to dive in with the pre-published adventures. But this goes into the nitty-gritty about designing your own adventures. So if you want to be able to have some training wheels or some help to get you into how to do a Star Wars game, because unlike a D&D game, like Star Wars is more, you got the social aspect, you got all this stuff that's going on in the background with the rebellion and the Empire, and it's got a certain feel to it. Like D&D can kind of default into, you have your hack and slash dungeon crawls, you have your hack and slash ship-faring adventures. It's a lot of D&D is a game that's designed around combat and doing cool stuff in combat, whereas the Star Wars role-playing game is designed around having skills and being resourceful and creative use of those skills. And then when that doesn't work, pulling out the blasters and start shooting everybody. So the beginning adventures, first chapter of this book is the advice for first-time game masters on how to start a Star Wars game. It breaks down the episodic plot structure, which is my personal favorite way to run a role-playing game. Even if it is D&D, I want to think of it as the campaign is like a whole season or a whole anthology of books or movies. It's the whole story. But every time you sit down to play, that's the episode. And you might get through the whole episode in one session. It might take 2 or it might take 3, depending on how fast your players move through everything. And there's a formula. And I know if you're following Spandex Squadron, I haven't really stuck to the formula as dedicated as I should have, but I've made sure to use different parts of the formula to have each episode use a couple of pieces of this to have it be like, okay, this week we're doing this, and this week we're doing this, and this week we're doing this. So the things you should have to make a Star Wars game feel like Star Wars is you need to have ground battles. You should have some chase scenes, space battles. You gotta have the space battles. You got to have problem solving, and you got to be interacting with the Star Wars universe. You know, you got to have like those classic stormtroopers and rebel cells and funky aliens and weird off places and name dropping different planets. And you got to use you got to give that Star Wars flavor to it. So, the next section is the Star Wars adventure, how to make it Star Wars, how to put that Star Wars flavor into it, is more focus on the action. Like, even if you're having a battle, there still needs to be the dramatic tension of like, okay, well, we're doing this, you guys need to be doing this. And it's not just the combat action, it's the action of using these skills and the tension and having everybody kind of be like, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen here? And try to keep it fast paced. One thing that they recommend that's a big part of the Star Wars RPG, especially the published adventures, is the use of scripts to hand out to the players to have them read and go through. I know I should be doing that for my cutscenes. I should definitely be handing out some scripts to be like, okay, I want you guys to read these certain characters. I'm not going to give these to you until it's time. Open up the envelope. Here's the cutscene. Kind of thing. I know I can trust you. I know if you ever get an envelope that's addressed to you and it says like cutscene, or I'll just say retro. I'll just put just in case Josh sees this. I'll make sure I'll tell you if I'm sending you something.
Okay.
All right, because I know Josh, but I want to get into that. And like, and it's even here. Where are the things using cutscenes is one of the pieces of advice from this game. Let the players know what the villains are doing, but don't give it all away. Just let them know that, like, something bad's happening. Villains are on the move. What's going on? Tease them, and that puts some action, some drama into the game. Drop in your Star Wars lore and trivia. Remind people it's like, yeah, it's an alien, but remember this TV show? Yeah, okay. Another piece, and I need to fix the book. I have the Star Wars sound effects encyclopedia book where you can flip through it and you press the buttons on the side and it'll actually play the different sounds. Yeah, so
I remember that. Who else had it?
I don't know who has that, but I got a copy of it. Laura found it at like a free little library for me. I just got to replace the battery in
nice.
it. Yeah, so use some Star Wars sound effects. Remember that the player characters are the heroes and they need to do heroic stuff.
Yeah.
Like let them do like the crazy shenanigans, and it's not the game master's role in Star Wars is not to be Darth Vader and come out and force choke and kill everybody. Yeah. You gotta let them have, like, they're doing their thing. They're the heroes of their story. Your job is just to be there to be like, okay, how can I make this just a little bit harder? Just a little bit harder every time. But even if you're not heroes, you're adventurers, which is basically just a hero in the making. Han Solo wasn't a hero really until like the end of the movie. Like, I'll still say he shot first. He killed Greedo under the table in cold blood. But when Luke needed him, he showed up at the right moment. He's like, I can't just leave. I can't just leave. Everybody thinks I'm leaving. All right, I'll show back up. I'll save the day. Oh, shoot, I got it. And he's like, hangs out with the rebels.
Luke still owes some money.
Well, no, like they all got they got paid. He had the money. He was loading up on the ship when Luke was getting ready to go fight the Death Star.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was all set. He turned around. He's like, damn it. And then he got sucked in, fell for the princess. He's like, I gotta stay. And that's the whole thing of like, all right, everybody's good. We're evacuating the rebel base. Okay, I gotta go see Jabba the Hutt. shoot, I didn't go see Jabba the Hutt. I got captured. Okay, all my friends came and saved me. All right, I'm gonna go with them, and they came, they rescued me. I got to go do the right thing. I'm gonna become a general and fight for the rebellion. So, heroes in the making. Even if you don't start out as a hero, you should end the adventure as a hero.
Yeah.
And remember, the other thing that they say in this is failure doesn't mean game over. Which needs to be a kind of thing of, I think, why like 5th edition D&D had so many like, well, you're dying, here's your death saves, because too many DMs looked at it and went, yes, they're at negative hit points, they're dying, they're dead, okay, they're make a new character, instead of being like, total party wipe, you guys are all knocked out, the big bad isn't done with you yet, he's going to extract information, he's going to torture you, you guys are all wake up in various stages of on death's door, chained up and locked up in the dungeon. How are you going to escape now? Like, if you fell to the dark side, there's still a path to redemption. If you're going to die, if you're dead, you actually get captured. You could have just your stuff get blown up. So it's like, I'm not dead. It's like the ship's destroyed, but you're still alive. Have them suffer from a massive injury. They got to be thrown in the back to tank and healed back up. Or even just like a minor failure. It's like, okay, there's complications now because you failed to do this. Now you got to come up with something else. Also, they give some advice on running different styles of adventure. There can be the no dice adventure where you're just basically telling the DM what you're doing. And they're like, yeah, okay, that can happen. You can do it. Okay, yeah, do that. Okay, pay this person this much money. And you can do a whole thing where it's like you don't even have to roll the dice. You can just storyboard it.
Yeah, that's how good is your storytelling.
Yeah.
How convincing is your storytelling?
Or you can have a game where everybody's rolling fistful of dice and having a great time because they're sitting there like, I get to fire the big weapon and some people love rolling fistfuls of dice. I'm a person who loves to roll fistfuls of dice. You can do a scope. You can have the scope game. You can have it be either focused on you're only going to be on one planet, or you can be hopping around all over the galaxy in a game. You can play more strategic, where you get out the miniatures and you set it up on the table, and everybody's like measuring distances, and you're basically playing a war game as one side of the war game against 4 to 6 of your friends. You can, have it be like one big chase where you're tracking somebody down across the galaxy. You can have congruent, like basically like overlapping games. Basically, it's like, this game's going on and you keep going over, but okay, we're going to play with a different set of characters and have this going at the same time. You split the party and have like 2 different game nights, those kind of things. Or you can do the one shots where it's just like, okay, we're just going to play this one adventure and then be done. You can do alternate timelines. Like, I'm a big fan of the extended universe, but I also like a bunch of stuff from the Disney canon. So I'm kind of like, all right, everything up to the Mandalorian, because none of the Mandalorian stuff has touched how many kids Han and Leia had yet. So I'm like, everything in Mandalorian up to like the Disney series up to like the end of Mandalorian is canon, and so is season 1 of Ahsoka. I will go out on a limb and be like, that so far is canon. I don't know if I'm going to keep it EU, but I'll keep this. You can do like the ordinary people, the like level 0s, where you start off with a little less skill dice, and you're just average Joes who get sucked up into the story of Star Wars. You can play the game as the Imperials. You can be the bad guys. You can be the Stormtroopers, the TIE Fighter Squadron. You can have it where the rule is everybody has to be all the same species. So if you want to do a completely Wookiee campaign where everyone is Wookiees, like on a prison labor camp and they're trying to escape, you can do that kind of a game. You can do like an exploration where it's like you're stranded on some planet and you're trying to get your way to the one outpost that's on the other side of it. And you got to adventure through all these different parts of the planet, the jungle, figure out how to get across the ocean, do that kind of crazy stuff. And you can even do straight up comedy. You can just have it be like, we're just doing this for laughs. You know, a lot of different ways to play Star Wars. Don't let anybody tell you that your Star Wars game isn't a real Star Wars game because you're not adhering to all of this. Next piece of advice is notes on how to pick where to set adventures. Basically, and it gives you a little bit like a Star Wars world builder, so you can design your own custom planets to drop into the Star Wars universe if you want to make something that's wholly your own and not have to like have use other already established material. Then there's notes on Gamemaster characters, so you have like the extras, the background people, the supporting cast, Gamemaster leads. So it's like your big bads, the recurring villains, the recurring characters that the DM runs, and also talks about how to balance PCs and how to figure out like power levels. Like when a character has X number of skills in this, what's actually going to be a challenge for them. There's encounter building notes. There's notes on how to design your own artifacts and equipment. And super tech, so you can create all those cool things that are like, this is my version of a planet killing, weapon, or some lost Sith artifact or lost Jedi artifact and stuff like that. There's a whole section in the book about props, such as scripts, handouts. We've talked about how almost all of these Star Wars books all have some really great, blank handouts that you can actually create your own. Like last week, we talked about Tanya brought up the bounty hunter poster, where you can actually like Photoshop in and create your own bounty posters for using in games. The Game Master's Guide has the one where you can create your ship piloting license and data pads and stuff like that. A lot of the published adventures all had maps. I plan to one of these days. I am planning to order like the big like 6 by 8 foot Star Wars galaxy map that has all the planets listed out, so I can actually have that as a giant wall poster with push pins to be like, okay, you guys are here. Where you need to go is here. Like if I actually get to the point where it's like I'm running like multiple Star Wars games and we have a dedicated space where I can just put all of everything up, I plan to get like the big galaxy map at some point. But you can even find smaller ones to use. They talk about minis. There has been West End Games did their own mini line. WizKids, when Star Wars had the D20 Star Wars game, did a line of Star Wars minis for Wizards of the Coast. There is a line that was made by Fantasy Flight Games for the Legion games, as well as the Shatterpoint game. Shatterpoint game is a different scale than the Legion and the WizKid and the West End Games minis. And if you really want to, you can modify the scale of everything else and just use your Star Wars action figures. You're going to have to build a little bit bigger terrain to set up on the table. But yes, you can grab your stormtroopers and your Jedi, and you can even sit there and like custom build your own action figures and make your Star Wars game alive with action figures. Illustrations. These books have tons of illustrations to be able to get stuff for you. Google search can easily get you tons of images for Star Wars. The Spandex Squadron thumbnail video, the image for the thumbnail, that was ChatGPT created that. I had AI do that for me. Actually, it wasn't ChatGPT, it was a different AI that I had to use it for it. Music, and like I said, with a sound effects book and or a sound effects app on your phone, tons of ways to be able to get sound effects into your game if you want to do that. Music, I liked to use the audio CDs for the original trilogy. I had those when I used to run this game in high school, so I'd be like able to put the 20th Century Fox fanfare on when we started games, all that cool stuff. They even, and this shows the next couple of sections in here of props that they suggest really shows how old this magazine was. Well, no, this book was, because this thing was printed in like 93, 95. They suggest using a VCR and clips from the Star Wars movies. But you can easily use YouTube and Star Wars clips and fan film clips and stuff like that to get stuff across. Video game clips. There's tons of Star Wars videos on YouTube. You can also use communication gear such as cassette recorders and walkie-talkies. Or you can use your cell phone, and you can use audio recording apps on your cell phone, but you won't get that staticky, grungy feel of like a radio if you don't use an old cassette tape to record like the conversation of two stormtroopers to be able to play in the background. But and the last prop section I would recommend, toys. Now, I said action figures to move around the table, but I have a bit of a disclaimer when it comes to actually bringing like toy lightsabers and blasters and like sound effects mask to the table. Understand when Mordok decided he didn't want to be on camera as himself, he wanted to be on camera as Mordok, and had the lizard mask on. I was kind of cringing because toys and gamers in my history has been a fast way to like trigger everyone's ADHD. To the point where it's like you have somebody who's sitting there, they're playing deep in their game, and someone on the other side of the table is bored, and they have a Nerf blaster or a blaster that makes a pew pew sounds but shoots a Nerf dart. And next thing you know, they're like, I'm bored. I'm gonna hit the guy over on the other side of the table. I'm gonna try to get one stuck onto the Darth Vader helmet. And then you have a firefight breaks out between the PCs, and they're not even actually doing it in game. So if you know that you have a bunch of overgrown, and I'm going to say this because I have never had a problem with any female gamer at my table acting like a 2-year-old. It has mostly been overgrown man-childs who have been not able to sit there with a toy gun and not shoot each other or whack each other with a lightsaber during a game. So if you have overgrown man-childs in your games, don't bring the action figures, don't bring the lightsabers, don't bring the blasters. Leave them like on the wall as decorations. Maybe if you want to like let them go like kill each other with the lightsabers afterwards, you can let them play with the lightsabers afterwards. Don't let them play with the lightsabers at the table. You will get nothing but distracted players. Unless you can trust your players, then go have fun.
I build the dice. I stack them. I build towers with them.
Yeah, and I knew a person who did that, and there was another person who was at the table who was completely bored and checked out from the game, and they decided to quote a Hannah Montana, a Miley Cyrus song. And like, I came in like a wrecking ball, and threw a D20 across the table and destroyed the towers. And that devolved a role. That devolved a role playing game that made me go, I really don't want to DM anymore. Who else wants to DM? So I was just like, nah, I'm good.
Okay.
You got to know your players. You got to know what they're allowed to have, how much alcohol you let them have, and yeah.
We have our playtime with the nerfs. We can do like Morlock wants to do a live action session where we are our characters physically too, and we act it out.
Mm-hmm.
So that will feed into his need to do stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll probably do I wouldn't mind doing a LARP at some point. I mean, I drag my heels on it, but if everyone else is going to do it, I'm like, all right, I'll do it. But I'm like,
but it requires everyone to be present in the same location.
Yeah, maybe the next time I visit Maine.
Yeah,
We already got plans for this time.
Yep.
All right. Next section is note on improvisation, how to deal with off-script adventures. Basically, when you want to go one way, but everybody else wants to go the other way. Guess what? That happens a lot. And I feel like you get a lot more players invested when you lean into what they want to do with their characters rather than what you want to do with their characters. Spandex Squadron has felt to me a lot like I've been leading the story as the DM. But after this last session we had, I feel like the players have given me enough stuff to be like, okay,
Yeah.
we're going to try to wrap this up in like 3 sessions. You're giving me the stuff, and I'm going to run with it, improvise it, and we're doing a lot of off-the-wall stuff for next time. I don't want to give any spoilers. Next section in the book is campaigns. It's notes on creating a campaign, which I say your campaign is going to basically be your 1 to 3 movie story. It's that one season, possibly more. It's the story of those characters, and all of these episodes build up to be the campaign. Lastly, in the book, we have Tales of the Smoking Blaster. It's a beginning adventure for a smuggling ship crew. Some way to get your feet wet as a DM. They're not really aligned with the Empire or the Rebellion at this point. And, lets everybody kind of like get a feel for playing Star Wars. And then you can improvise, lean into it, and like, where do you guys want to go with this stuff after this? And kick off your campaign. So I would recommend, after running the adventure in the core rule book for your players, then, if they like those characters, you could still play those characters again, or you could make some new ones, dive into this adventure. And then after that, I would say it would be like, okay, run 2 published adventures. Let's try going back through this book, and what story do your players want to play? What story do you want to tell? And let's start making some episodes for it. So that's all the one thing I've got to say before I am done speaking is reading this. I feel like there's a lot of information I picked that has like game mastering since the time this book was published in the past 30 years has evolved. But at the same time, the roots of it is all in here. And especially like the section on, props and that formula for how to make an adventure in that episodic style of game mastering. along with the what kind of games do people like? Like I'm the bucket of dice person. I think I've seen a lot. Looking at this, I was able to look at the Star Wars game in general to look at my inspiration for my role-playing game for Flip really comes through, and you could almost use this Game Master's book as like a Game Master book for Flip, because there's not a lot of stats. The only stats in here are really in the adventure. Like this is all game theory type stuff. And when I get around to writing the Game Master section for Flip, I'm definitely going to be using this as like one of my guideposts for how do I want to, my game to be run. So that's all I got to say.
I like the whole concept of taking away the dice and going with the potential based on people's storytelling capabilities. The game master hands out the scenario, the players say what they're going to do, and that will, for the ones that aren't comfortable doing math or not comfortable adding dice the way they looking down at dice, and
I am going to pack a book for you. Okay. And it is going to be one that I'm going to be the side commentary person for that episode. This is going to be you to review. It's a bunch of role play. It's like mini role playing games, but almost every single one of them are narrative diceless games. And I know my personal thing is because I like rolling the dice, and I struggle as a player of playing purely diceless games. So I know if I struggle as a player of it, I'll struggle horribly as a DM. And I bought this book, and I'm never going to probably use it. So I'm going to give it to you, and you can run a bunch, like do a couple one shots out of this thing and look it over and lead the review episode for it.
Awesome.
So, all right. I'll make sure to pack that. All right. That's all we got for Retro Review this week. Peace.
Peace.
Hey everybody, thanks for staying till the end of the episode. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Follow us on Facebook at Board Barista Productions. And if you want to support us, Patreon link at the bottom.